Yo, my brothers and sisters, what's going on? This podcast is a continuation of my experience with drugs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This podcast is about the 70s. Welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head. So, I title this podcast, Hashish, Reefer, Poppers, oh my. Because in the 70s is when I really took off. I mean, free love, free this, free everything. I tell people in the 70s, we didn't have a dating line. You could walk the streets. You give a guy a look, he give you that look, and you're off to the races, as they say. Well, let's talk about the drugs in the 70s. Now, my next drug, besides the ones I was telling you about from the 60s, I had a best friend named Morris. And Morris introduced me to a lot of drugs. The one drug that he introduced me to was Boone's Farm, alcohol. I fell in love with alcohol. I was a blackout drinker from the start, from the beginning. Anything sweet, I latched onto it. Southern Comfort, if it's rum and orange juice. He started me on Boone Farm, apple wine, anything sweet. The next thing he got me to do, like he had to twist my arm, is Hashish. We did Hashish. Now, I'm trying to recollect, did we smoke it or did we snort it? But I think we smoked it. Now, I didn't know anything about roll. He was teaching me how to roll a joint, with the Reefer paper, the thin little paper. And I got big fucking hands. And I couldn't roll them damn things with my big hands, So anyway, he rolled it. We smoked it in my bedroom. I was 19 years old, in my bedroom, and I painted all my walls black. My bedroom walls were all painted black. And I had my component set, which my mother didn't like because she didn't know how to use it. But my component set, the component set is a receiver, a turntable, and 2 speakers. I had that in my bedroom. And I had posters, black light posters. I bought these posters that glow in the black light. My main was a Santana. So there I would do, me and my friend Morris, we were sitting on the bed, or laying on the bed, whatever, staring at Santana poster, glowing in the dark, and with the black light, smoking Hashish. I loved it. Next thing was Reefer. See, I didn't know the difference because after he started me first on Hashish. Then he introduced me to Reefer. Reefer, I know I didn't care too much for Reefer. I remember doing it. It didn't do anything for me. People keep saying, it gives me the munchies. Well, it didn't give me the munchies. I didn't like Reefer. But let's talk about poppers. Now, poppers were very, very popular in the gay community. If you went to the disco, you got the thing with the pop, the dizzy, that wildness. I loved it. I would twirl around the disco floor, knocking people off the floor and getting kicked out the disco because I was a fat 400-pound kid, knocking people off the dance floor. They used to kick me out all the time. Give me poppers, I go crazy. I snort them damn things. And poppers, we have to admit, poppers was very good for anal sex. If you met a guy that you can't handle back there, snort poppers. Usually the guy would do it for you. Here, snort this. You snort that. You kind of like blackout. And next thing you know, he's humping you like a crazy rabbit. But you want poppers. It feels good. Now, I have to admit, because I did a podcast before, there's 2 different kind of poppers. You had the poppers that you get in the bookstores, in the gay bookstores. that came in a little bottle. Take the bottle, you snort it. Then you had these poppers that I think you get it from the hospital or the doctor's office. They were white little tabs, and you snap it, and you snort it from that. That was called poppers also. But I heard those are the ones they use for people who faint. When you faint, they put that in your nose to wake you up. Well, that they call that poppers also. But right now, I'm going to tell you about the poppers that the most popular that I use was the ones that came in a little jar. You twist it off and you on to the races. You did it at the disco. You did it at the movie house. You even do it in the park, in the cruising parks. You did it poppers were very, very popular. Then we had a thing called mescaline. Now, mescaline, I don't really know what it's really. I know it came in a little purple pill like that. Oh my God! You take that, and I'm going to give you an incident. I took a mess tablet, and for some reason I was on the subway. Don't ask me why I take a mess tablet. I think I was on my way to a disco, but I was on the subway, and I took this mess tablet, and the train wasn't going fast enough. I want the train to go faster. I want to get to where I got to get. So I was in the middle of the train. The trains that, when the different cars in the middle of the cars outside, and the conductor came out. You're not supposed to be out here. I said, not going fast enough. We got to go faster. Let's go faster. Let's go. He told me to go sit down. I couldn't sit down. I was walking back and forth. I was itchy. But you think I stopped taking mescaline? Of course not. I think that was one of the best ones. I don't know if I made a podcast about the next drug. They call it a speedball. It's supposed to be a mixture of cocaine and reefer. I think that's what it is. Cocaine and reefer. They roll it up into the joint and you smoke it. And this guy I went to this guy's house, and he went to a drug house, a house that sold these lesbians that sold drugs. We went in there, and they had the living room, and people was nodding out. I think she did heroin. I never done her heroin, but I think in this place she was selling heroin also, because we had people on her couch nodding out, TV blasting, no lights on, TV blasting. You got people nodding out. So he took me to this house. Of course, I gave him money to get this speedball, and I didn't like it. Nothing happened. Like I said, I wasn't really into reefer. He said it was cocaine and reefer. But he got pissed off at me because he said I wasted the joint. He snatched it out of my head. You're wasting the joint, And he said I drank too much. If you didn't drink so much, you can feel the effect of the speedball. I said, no, that's all. You can have it. The other drug that I want to talk about is, I might have had one. I think they called it an acid tab. And at the time, they were selling it in, it was like paper thin. And they sold it in Disney characters. I think I remember it's Disney characters. So I had Daffy Duck. It was the Daffy Duck on a little piece of paper like this. And you put it on your tongue. And that just drove you crazy. Just outside of your mind. And I loved it. I loved it all. I loved it. I love being out of my body. I told you before I was a blackout drinker. I love being out of my head. And you just heard the craziness that lives in my head.